Let's move now to the Mpumalanga border post, and in particular, it's called Lebombo. It borders South Africa and Mozambique. The management authority at that border saying they've begun the process of temporarily moving some of these services to another location. This will be done during busier days, and it is meant to ensure smoother border crossings. Let's find out a little bit more detail now. Newsroom Africa's Nqobile Madlala is at the border, and she joins us live. And Nqobile, good afternoon to you. Let's talk about the moving of these services. How far from the border will they be moved, and are you any clear about what specific services are going to be moved?
Well, Polly, the process is still ongoing. We know that it starts today, but just to give you an idea of how far it is, we are told that everything is going to move to kilometer 7. But as you approach the border, you calculate 7 kilometers from the border. So that means it's inland. Before you get to the normal border, you would have an area that South Africa would refer to as kilometer 7, which is 7 kilometers away from the normal border. Now, all these services, which mainly will comprise of clearance, you'll remember that this Lebombo border is seen as one of the biggest inland ports. And so you find that you've got a lot of freight industry that comes into this area. You've got a lot of people that walk in and out, as well as normal cars, as well as taxis and so on, that operate within the space. So in order to ensure that the freight industry, as well as all these other transports, are able to be cleared in time, they will then move the border into kilometer 7, where they will do all these clearance. And by the time you are then coming to the normal border, you'll have to walk all the way and be escorted we're told, by law enforcement to ensure that everything is according to plan. Now, this works in two ways, Koli. This is just to ensure that if there's any build-up in terms of the number of freight industry, as you can see behind me, you've got a lot of trucks that have come into the area, and you remember that they were asking that the freight industry does not redirect to Beitbridge, but continue using this border. And this is why this was part of the conversation with the ministerial bilateral conversation that we saw yesterday, talking about the fact that all these truckers needs to be safe when they go to Mozambique. So because of that, as you see an uptick in terms of that traffic, then it will be easier for them to process that part. However, at the same time, Koli, we are told by the SAPS is that they are also gearing up for the festive season safety, but after that, they're also gearing up for the 23rd. You'll remember that the last time when Mozambique was quite unhappy with what was taking place, some of the unrest spilled over into the border. So they're saying they're also gearing up, they're getting ready to ensure that they can control whatever happens at the border at that time whenever the 23rd does hit. You'll know that a lot of people from Mozambique wait anxiously to understand whether or not those results will be pronounced in favor of Frelimo or in favor of Podemo. So whilst they wait for that, South Africa also needs to ensure safety for those that are using the Maputo port. So we understand that the law enforcement from both countries will be escorting and assisting, ensuring that there's safety with regards to the trucks when they move from the normal border now in the South African side going into the Mozambican side, which is kilometer 4. Now that area specifically from the border to kilometer 4 has been one of the worrisome areas, and this is where we saw some of the trucks being burnt, we saw some of the truck drivers also being attacked, and we saw some of the unrest spilling over to South Africa. So that area specifically is going to be monitored by the Mozambican forces being able to take everybody into kilometer 4. At kilometer 4, we understand already there are some soldiers that were deployed much earlier on, but they're still operating in that space. And so it will be easier for them to be able to escort the trucks into the harbor, which would be the Maputo port, where basically all the freight industry will be going to. But for South Africa, that means for anyone who's coming to the Lebombo border post, means that they will be able to be cleared at kilometer 7 before they are able to go into the normal border.
Nqobile Madlala live for us at the Lebombo border post. Thank you very much for that update.